Right from the age of 7, when Brian Wathum started playing basketball back in the late 1980s, his dream was to become one of the best at the sport. Through all levels of school, Wathum gave it his best shot, especially at Makerere College School.
I love playing. I started playing from when I was about 7 years old, 8. I grew up in Makerere, pool court, representing pool court. We used to be so many kids who play soccer. So you go and play 21 aside. But then one day, me and my buddies were tired of too many kids playing soccer, so we decided to play basketball, and everything changed from there onwards. Unfortunately, when I didn't have a pretty good career in terms of high school basketball. Like most of the people we know had fun in high school. But I was on the bench, maybe I was a water boy in '96 when Makerere College hosted Sprite and we won. I was a water boy, but I like to say I was on the bench. I didn't step on court at any one time, but I was on the school team because when I was in S2, and the captain, I think it was called Paul, he could see that I knew the game, so he gave me a chance to play.
Yet, as fate would have it, in 2001, Wathum tore his anterior cruciate ligament. But since everything happens for a reason, this marked a turning point in Wathum's basketball life. He decided to quit playing and delved into coaching, something he has done for the last 16 years, and remarkably developed his own coaching style.
I coached Makerere College, and then from Makerere College, I think that was 2002, that makes it about 15 years, 16 years? Yeah. Then I went on to coach a team called No Name. We had some pretty good players who I could say right now in the league are sounding. Ben Komakech was one of them. Yeah, No Name. He was in Ndeje Secondary School, but he used to come up from holidays and play for No Name. We were in the league at that time. They're pretty decent players. There's Richard Balemwa, he's playing for our Savior now. He was in No Name. I could go on and on about the players that we had. Then from No Name, I moved on to Power. That's why I became an assistant coach at Power. At that time, I didn't know. I loved the game so much, I was playing it. I didn't know that I would actually become a coach. But with I would say relative success, because in my first few years, I don't think I really was that successful as a coach. I got addicted to coaching because my coaching style, I like to believe, was more than the game. Like I want to influence a player at a certain level to get the best out of a player, which necessarily doesn't have to be basketball. Yeah, so I just want to get the best out of a player and put that best attribute in a team setting. And if you can get that out of 12 players, I think you're on a path to have a good team. It becomes more than winning and losing. It becomes about being like a band of brothers. Yeah, and those are the few values that I think athletes today need. It's more than having the skill and the talent. It's about having the life skills to execute in your day-to-day life, and those are the things I like to teach.
But even though he could not realize his dream and ambition to be one of the most talked about point guards in the Ugandan game, a position that he played so dearly, he did not doubt his knowledge of the game.
When I was in Makerere College and we were preparing for some of those tournaments, our coach then was Coach Andrew Bazira. I think he's the one I could say who put me in a position to understand the game, because I was playing point guard, and a point guard is like an extension of a coach on court. So the way he pushed us, he really battered us and took us through the whole hustle and put us through the whole hard work during practice. And for guys who had just come together at that time, and what Coach Andrew did for us at that time was really amazing, because we didn't win the tournament. Yeah, I think we stopped in the semi-finals or something. We didn't really achieve much, but we achieved off the court. We became friends. like we learned a lot from Coach Andrew, you know. We learned a lot from him, and it was amazing. So when I came back to Makerere College, I kind of followed the same blueprint. I kind of battered the players, pushed them their limits, took them through everything because what I had learned. Because I knew this is it. You know, this is how things are done. Because I kind of reflected on what we went through to get to where we finished in that tournament. And we're going for another tournament, and now I'm a coach. I'm like, let me try and do it that way. But we're always evolving. The coaching game is revolving. There are so many coaches I can talk about who are really, I'd like to pick up my style and coach like that. So I remember the first day when we went for that tournament. We're going to register our team, we pay, and the chick is like, what's the name of the club? And all of us, we had, on all that we had been doing for the last 2-3 weeks, we had never thought of a name for the club. And then the chick jokes about it. She's like, oh, you guys have no name. And we're like, yeah, that's our name. Give us no name, you know. She, how do you spell it? You say N-O-N-E-M. And we became no name from then. The guys had seen those guys had seen what I had been doing with Makerere College, some of them. So they asked me to come on board. And the captain was actually, I grew up right next to him. He was my next door neighbor. He was called Okello Baldwin. Very intelligent point guard. I wonder why he's not playing anymore. You know, people move on. But he really came to me and said, yo, I know you're coaching Makerere College, but we have this team and we're trying to play in this tournament. Please come and, you know, help coach us. I was a young man. I had never really envisioned the future. I was living in the moment. I didn't know. I remember I used to not fight, but I used to exchange a lot of words with match commissioners at games because they tell me, you don't even have a certificate. You're not even a certified coach. I don't know what you're doing here. Coaches, if you're a coach, you're only allowed to stand. If you're not, you sit. So I used to, you know, I wasn't seeing where my career was going as a coach. I didn't envision it. I was a young man. I mean, I was just joining. I was in campus at that time. Between 20, 21, that age. There are a lot of things that distract you, you know, at that age. So I was not really envisioning where I would be in the future. But when I went for coaching clinics is when I started understanding the game. I used to macromanage the game. But through those coaching clinics I went for, I started micromanaging the game. Now I started looking at the game till the smallest bits and figuring how you can get those small bits to make it from how you can make it micro to make it a macro. You know, macromanaging is okay, but I think one of the things as coaches that you need to do is to really break down the game to the smallest detail.
Wathum is now a FIBA Module 2 ranked coach and is targeting a FIBA diploma that can allow him to coach anywhere in the world. But even as he targets that, for now, being in the National Basketball League playoffs is any coach's dream. And indeed, it was one that Wathum lived to experience.
Professional, I don't think we have professional coaches here in Uganda. Right now, in the league, like right now, I'll be very honest with you. I still have stuff I'm doing on the side. Coaching has been my number one thing. I'll always do that, but there's so many things I have that I've achieved that where I invest my time in, like during the day. So I'm not really a basketball coach full time. I can say in the sense of if it's practice day, if it is game day, I'm there. I'm available 100%. But I was having a chat with a friend of mine who works in FIBA, and she kept insisting that if you want to do this full time, she can help me even grow. She has a lot of connections. I can not only go for coaching clinics here, I can expand and go elsewhere. And they do those programs here in the Federation of League. But it needs someone who is full time. I am a FIBA Module 2 coach, meaning I can coach anywhere in Africa right now. If I pursue the next module, after that it's a diploma. And I think a diploma is the highest recognition of a coach anywhere in the world. So if you get that diploma, you can coach now anywhere in the world. I think module 3 and 4 are for Europe, I think. Yeah. So right now I'm a module 2 coach. It's a feeling that you have to live for yourself. And the fact that I am still an interim coach. I was given the reins when the playoffs were starting. So, and the expectations from the quarters finals to the semi-finals, and even in the final now, no one gave KIU Titans a chance. But we're here now, and I think for me it's like the greatest feeling I've had in terms of basketball. I've achieved, I've won. I won with Power when I was in Power, but I was an assistant coach. I've been at that level, but to be at the top level of everything, at the basketball mountain and trying to be the last man standing, it's one of the greatest feelings I've ever had. You can't put your emotions, you can't mix your emotions with the job at hand. Like, I remember one of the Warriors series, when we lost the first game, everybody's head was down and they're like, oh no, not this again, you know. But when you won the second game, you won the third game, the closeout game, one of my players came and said, you know, coach, we won game 3 just because of the way you were, the way you looked. Like, we were down by, I think, 15 points, I think, in game 3. And we clawed back into the game and we won that game. But for some reason, I was not panicked. I was okay. I kept telling the players, this is what we knew was going to happen. We're going to face this adversity. So you need to stay locked in. You just need to chip. Don't even bother looking at the score. Don't even bother looking at the time. It's very hard as a player. But I told them, let's just focus on getting a stop and we score. Get a stop and we score. And it worked. Like, the players, because I was calm, and I wasn't panicking, they also, slowed down their heart rate a bit and came down to, we synchronized, So he said, you practically won us that game, so you're going to be also the same person who's going to win us game 4. Like, we will need you to be what you were before, and like they say, the rest was history.
However, even with all the excitement and pride there is playing in the NBL playoff finals, Wathum has experienced the harsh of it. He was clearly inconsolable at the sounding of the final whistle after Game 4, which clearly summed up the taunt of the series, the much-dreaded sweep. 4-0 in the best-of-7 series is what Wathum and his KIU Titans charges were subjected to by the City Oilers.
When you win games, the players take the credit. When you lose games, and mark my words, the coaches take the credit. You understand? It's not the blame. Coaches don't take the blame, they take the credit. Credit, why? Why credit? Because from losing, you learn. At least I like to believe, that's the way I say it. When you lose, you learn. A lot of the times, even when we win, we make a lot of mistakes, but we never pay attention to it. But when you lose is when you start paying attention to those mistakes, So I've got to understand, I have gotten to understand that in a certain way, that I prepared myself along my coaching journey to understand that players always take the glory. When we win games, it's the players. But when we lose games, I don't expect them to blame me, but I expect to understand that what are we going to learn from this? So I take the blame. I say, okay, no, I'm sorry. I take the credit. I say, okay, what are we going to do? What did we learn?
You look at it as credit.
Yeah, I look at it as credit.
I'm trying to find the solution.
Yes, it doesn't mean nothing whether you win or you lose. It's about what you learn from both scenarios. What did you learn when you won? What did you learn when you lost? That's what makes you a better player a better coach and a better team.
But really, how much of Wathum's sobbing, like we have seen many sportsmen do after they've lost an important game, was simply about the final?
We're a pretty good team. We're not in the finals by mistake. I think talent-wise, we're up there. And we didn't go to the finals to participate. We went to the finals to compete. The only thing is that we're up against a different monster, you know. We're up against a 4-time defending champions. We're up against a tough opponent. It doesn't mean that they can't lose. With all due respect to Oilers, it just doesn't mean that they can't lose. It just means that they're in a better position to win. That is what so many people are forgetting about this whole finals thing. It's okay. We were in the finals. We competed for 4 strong games.
Before Christmas last year, Wathum lost his wife, Katsi. Like anybody, it is something that hit him hard. He did not see this coming, since Katsi's illness had been something they had managed well for the 10 months they were married.
When it happened, there were so many people overwhelming, friends, family, people I didn't know, who came around and gave me a lot of support. I didn't have time to sit down and mourn my wife. The only time I had is when I get to bed, and then you can't sleep. So every time I'm thinking, no, I have to get to the court. I have to get to the court, you know. I have to get to the court. So I just dug inside there and it's helping me.
Yet, even in the midst of all the agony Wathum has had to bear, he went ahead and married Katsi, well aware of the illness that she had.
She was in ICU. And the doctor said if there was anything, the doctor first told me that they have tried everything that they could to help her. And if there was anything, because they still had a pulse, but she's like, not for long. It could be an hour, it could be 30 minutes. And if there's anything I had to say, I had to go and tell my wife before they lose the pulse. So I didn't even have time to say goodbye.
How humbling. Nevertheless, understanding God's ways in choosing to take his wife now would take time to sink in for Wathum.
She was my rock. I don't think I will, like privately right now, I don't think I'll be able to be the same in terms of my personality. Something has been ripped out of me. I don't know what it is. It's not going to affect my basketball. I think I've showed that. I'll keep trying. But something definitely has been ripped out of me. I just don't know what it is. The only thing, not the only thing, the couple of things or 3 things I can say is, one, the things that I've learned in the experience that I've had in the last 3 weeks is that, one, you don't take anything for granted. What we have today, we might not have tomorrow. So you don't take anything for granted, because once you don't have that thing that you had every day and it is gone just like that, you start to look at what you could have done better, you know, in terms of my private life and my marriage life and me being a father. I start imagining, what could I have done better to help the situation? Or what can I still do better? So you can't take anything for granted in life. Like, if there's any way that I can inspire someone, I'll tell them is, you can't take stuff for granted. If you have a meeting you're going for, don't be like, don't procrastinate. Just go for it. Just do it. If you have an appointment, if you have a date, if you have anything that you want to do, just do it. Just do it. Don't half step, don't half think it, don't put too much thought into it. Just do it. Because when that is taken away and you don't have the opportunity to do those things, you will realize, okay, I should have. And you don't want to live with that regret. Secondly, communicate uncontrollably. Whether it is with your boss, with your son, with, in this case, my wife, who are big communicators. Like I feel like she knew me because of, well, I was virtually trying to put her in everything that I was doing in life.
Putting himself together to inspire his basketball team has been one of the toughest things he has had to deal with, especially during this time when he has had to bear the pain of losing his wife.
Me and my wife loved, like she wanted to know everywhere I was, whatever I was doing, and it became natural. It became like, hey babe, I'm just going to do this. Oh, she's like, okay, don't delay. You know those things, then you delay. But when you delay, you text and say, sorry, I know I was not supposed to delay, but I delayed a bit. But I'm not saying that is what other guys do, but someone else would probably take that for granted and be like, I don't even need to tell her where I'm going, you know. Communicate uncontrollably. And above all, in these times, it's where you see the real people who will fight for you, you know. You know who your friends are, who your family is during these times. You'll know. Like you'll know. You know that this person got my back anytime.
It only took Wathum 3 days after his wife was laid to rest to return to his team and start preparing for the playoff finals. To be precise, it was on Boxing Day last year that all this happened. Tough, for sure.
It's tough losing a sibling or losing a child. It's very tough. I cannot even begin to imagine. I went, not disrespect, I buried my wife. I came back on Sunday, rested Monday, Tuesday I was back at practice. I was back after like 2 days, but I practiced.
So
then Saturday I went back to Masindi where she was buried.
Masindi?
Yeah, and I spent the weekend with her, and I came back for playoffs, ready for playoffs on Monday again. Ready for practice again on Monday, yeah.
For a man in pain like Wathum has been, success in the NBL could have been the most suitable gift he would have taken at this time, to comfort him and to make him heal much quicker. The question that is abound now, however, is where Wathum goes from now. He has to return to lick his wounds after his team lost the playoff finals to City Oilers. But only one can wonder how much pain that adds and compounds to the pain he felt earlier when his wife passed on.